Welcome back everyone, and let's dive in.
The following clips are from a rabbit hole that I don't recommend following, and they were uploaded by someone that goes by the name Kenneth Hassler. Now, as of recording this, Kenneth has an active Instagram, but he first gained notoriety over on TikTok, where he was quickly banned after many dubbed him to be a serial killer, hidden in plain sight. This is because he would often record himself dancing in his basement in a creepy mask, with songs like Goodbye Horses from Silence of the Lambs, and in some videos he showcases his girlfriend, which is just a sex doll. And there's a reason behind this, because he has an open dislike for women, and this just reinforces everyone's belief that he is indeed dangerous.
I could say 100%, every single negative aspect of my life, women are entirely to blame for.
Now, it should be noted that Kenneth claims that this persona that he puts on is just a bit, and that it all started due to how he was treated by women when he was younger. Because according to him, when he was younger, women constantly called him creepy, which led him to purchase the doll and create clips like this next one that reads, "POV, I'm trying to mimic your screams in an attempt to become a more believable woman." Now these clips are just scratching the surface of Kenneth's digital footprint, because the majority of them I can't share here due to their graphic nature, but it gives you a look inside Kenneth's unhinged mental state, and whether or not Kenneth is just doing this for attention. It's very clear that his disdain for women is not normal or based in any sort of reality. And reading through his comments, he's well aware of people making videos about him, which only seems to embolden him. But as always, I want to know what you think.
I initially thought this guy was joking about for views, but after looking him up, even I want a restraining order against him, and I'm not even a woman.
She delivered a baby 4 days ago and just found out she's 4 months pregnant. Is this possible? Technically, yes. It's a phenomenon known as superfetation and occurs when a woman releases an egg and it gets fertilized and implanted after she's already pregnant. Now, usually pregnancy changes such as hormonal changes, changes in the uterus, and the cervical mucus plug all work to prevent this, so superfetation is extremely rare, with only about 10 documented cases. But it is possible.
Imagine you're with your wife, she's pushing, giving it Dixie, and you have a doctor yelling at the delivery nurse to go long. So your baby shoots out like a torpedo and Jerry Rice is there to receive it. And then he comes up to you and says, "Congratulations." You say, "Yeah, thanks very much." But he looks at you sternly and says, "No, congratulations. She's 4 months pregnant." I mean, Jerry Rice was a good NFL player and all that, but was he really that good?
Detail on what I've been through. So basically, I was working at UMG, like I said, for 9 months, right? I was invited to a Christmas party. Now, if you know UMG, if you know where the building is, around the corner, there's a bar. Now, I ain't gonna lie, there was a woman in there that I liked. She was like, "Yeah, I'm going. You going?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." You know, there was some higher ups in there. You know, we having drinks. Something told me not to drink, because this is what they do. They get you drunk, get all the information they could get out of you, and get you to sign these bogus ass contracts. That was one thing that kind of threw me off. So he's like, "Yeah, you come to the party and I'll introduce you to her. Liz, Joni, and Michelle." I'm drinking like an idiot, which I should have never did. Liz calls me over, says, "Hey, tell me about yourself." Mind you, I'm drinking beers, I'm drinking vodka, I'm drinking wine. But it seemed like my drink was stronger than everybody else's, because I was f***ed up. So she's like, "Tell me about yourself." And I'm like, "What do you want to know?" She's like, "What do you do?" So mind you, then the lady, Michelle, right? And I never really liked her anyway, because she had a chain. She had a chain on that she wore every day faithfully. Now, when I tell y'all what kind of chain it was, she had a horns, a canutus chain. You know what this is? Canuto chain, the horns? She had that in 24 karat gold, and she wore it every day. And it was around her neck faithfully, so clearly I knew what she believed in. She's like, what do you do? I'm like, I just work. She's like, have you ever thought of doing music? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I used to back in the day. And she's like, you believe in ghosts? And I'm like, where did that come from? She's like, just answer the question. Do you believe in ghosts? And I said, nah, I never seen a ghost before. So she's like, do you know about the room? And Chuck walked in there and they have mirrors. They have events and stuff down there, like rappers come in there. Yeah, they had mirrors and candles and all kind of demonic looking shit. Walked the up out of there. And I said, yo, man, I'm not with that Santeria shit, man.
It seems like if you're really desperate and not for giving your soul away for money and fame, you're guaranteed it with these corporations.
That Ariana Grande interview scared the hell out of me. Because I'm sitting here asking myself, what the hell is going on in Hollywood? What is Hollywood doing to these young stars? And you may not know what I'm talking about, but look at this shit.
The next step
Why is she
is
talking
the
like
next
a robot?
step. It means it must come out.
Listen to
you know,
this.
it's been.
Do you have a release date?
You know what? They did the Brighter Days memory erasure treatment to me, so I'm having trouble
What?
remembering the details. They're foggy because at the Brighter Days clinic they do the memory erasure. You know,
Oh my God.
the memory erasure. They erase my memories. He's a little foggy, but
If you could remember, struggle, tell me, give me a date.
She just said at the Brighter Days Clinic, they do the memory eraser thing. What? So this is what's going on? These clinics are erasing these Hollywood stars' memories? And you know that she wasn't supposed to say that. She was not supposed to say that. Because when she said it, he took the mic away from her face. What's really going on? I don't know much about Ariana Grande. But what I do know is, and that doesn't seem like her, she seems more controlled than anything. Now, I'm not saying anything happened to her. But what I'm saying is, something is wrong. I know you see it. And if that happened to her, how many other people did it happen to? Shit is crazy.
She could be making a reference to something here, but you know, if I'm a celebrity in this satanic day and age, I'd be wanting my memory wiped too by the Men in Black.
Unanswered questions after a 911 call in Pueblo from a funeral home and cemetery. August 11th, just before 3:30 in the morning, the police department communications center got a call that they refer to as abandoned, meaning the other person hung up. So they called back, got an answer, and heard mostly static. An officer was sent out to check out the funeral home and cemetery and says it was locked up and dark with no one in sight.
So that phone call that you just heard was coming from this funeral home and cemetery in Pueblo, Colorado. The call came in at 3:28 a.m. and when the dispatcher at the police station picked up the phone call, they listened, nobody said anything, and then the caller hung up. However, as you heard in that video, the police dispatcher then called the phone number back, and that's when they got that spooky voice. That is just one of the creepiest things I've ever heard, I do have to say. And that call and voice came from somebody or something within the cemetery gates. There's just something so eerie to me about stories of people receiving phone calls or text messages from their loved ones who have passed on, or even in this case, receiving a phone call from an empty funeral home and cemetery. It's completely unexplainable. To this day, there's been no explanation. And that audio recording haunts me.
What if the call was from a real person who tried to escape the funeral home? That the funeral director was actually a serial killer who frequently kidnapped people and brought them there to play real life games like Operation or the Anatomy game. And unfortunately, during this call, the funeral director just got them.
Considering time is energy, what if I could prove that you've been unknowingly giving your energy to the devil? First, I'll prove that the devil is the god of time. Let's start with the symbolism within each day. There are 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, and 24 hours in a day. 2 plus 4 equals 6. 6, 6, 6. You become an adult at 18, which is 6 plus 6 plus 6. Subtract any number from the one across it. 12 minus 6 is 6. 11 minus 5 is 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. 9 minus 3 is 6. 8 minus 2 is 6. 7 minus 1, 6. Add the numbers across this way, you'll always get a 13. Or the expression 24/7, 2 plus 4 plus 7, 13. What's that other expression? In the nick of time? Because Nick is a nickname for the devil. Marinate on that one. Nick is a nickname for the devil. Aside from the nick of time, how about all your knickknacks? Things that consume your time and energy. Or the expression on devil's time. You also have devil's hour or witching hour between 3 and 4 a.m. Some believe that's when the veil is the thinnest between the spiritual realm and our world. Some also believe that devil's time is the opposite of when Jesus died, which was 3 p.m.
If there's one thing that can't lie, it's numbers, but Satan isn't the god, so he can't be the god of time.
We now know that Salma Hayek and her husband own Kering, the sister company of Balenciaga. They own Christie's auction house, which sells interesting art. And they are now the largest stakeholders of the CAA, the Creative Arts Agency. This is an aerial view of the CAA property. And I found it really interesting. And to be honest with you, it kind of reminded me of Naomi Campbell's house a little bit. See what I'm saying? Maybe it's just me. But I think they look a lot alike. Just kind of curious where else we see these kinds of objects, as I'm sure this design wasn't intentional at all. Now, what I find interesting is how a lot of the celebrities that are involved in the CAA are also involved in politics in some way, shape, or form. For example, like Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, who are not only two major Hollywood celebrities, but their father was also involved in the assassination of JFK, in which I found interesting that they were going to be involved in a brothers comedy series at Apple, which is represented by none other than the CAA. And Samuel Jackson, for example, who has some very strong opinions about racial constructs in America, some that have caused major ripples in the water amongst his community, who not only is a major Hollywood celebrity, but he was also involved in politics back in the day when he held Martin Luther King hostage. And not only that, but he became an usher at Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral. You may find can also be represented by the CAA. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of really wondering right now what the CAA actually is. But we'll just call them coincidences for now.
I'm not going to lie, but Samuel L. Jackson holding Martin Luther King hostage got me there. I actually went ahead and looked it up and turns out to be true. But yeah, in relation to the CAA, it doesn't take a genius to see who they really are.
Mr. Beast. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. According to the Bible, official toy of Mr. Beast, head of a leopard, teeth of a lion, and feet of a bear. Revelation 32 about the beast. It goes on with one of its heads seems to have been wounded, but now it's well. Interesting lightning which comes out of the leopard's head. What about the Antichrist? The Antichrist will support the beast and will produce great signs and wonders in order to deceive. Mr. Beast cured the blindness of 1,000 people by spending money for a necessary operation of those people. Very biblical. He built over 100 wells in Africa, so he creates water out of nothing. He's also known under Mr. Beast 6,000, so you got a 6 and 3 placeholders by putting the mark of the beast inside 666 plus 66 plus 66 equals 1998, which is coincidentally his birth year. His wife wrote a book, The Marked Children, which also reminds me to this here.
A lot of valid points regarding Mr. Beast. During his earlier years, he was devoted to Christianity too, and showed that in his earlier videos, but Mr. Beast also knows how to get clicks.
You know a photo is seriously creepy when a podcast tells you, hey, stop listening to the podcast and go take a look at this photo. This is exactly what happened when I was listening to Radio Rental. This woman was telling about this photo that she captured that was really strange, and in the middle of the podcast, the producers interrupt the show and go, pause and go to the Instagram and look at this. So this woman calls in and talks about her experience when she went to Hawaii to run a 100-miler. Apparently, she's been doing these 100-milers since she was 14. She was now 35 when she was doing this in Hawaii. I mean, honestly, I thought that was the terrifying thing. The fact that she's running 100 miles voluntarily, and then the one in Hawaii, you had to run it in 36 hours. 5 laps, a 20-mile loop, and they call it the Hurt 100 because they had ankle-breaking terrain. Also, when it would rain, it got really, really slippery. But she emphasizes she has never not finished a 100-miler. Her boyfriend couldn't go with her, so she brings her best friend along, which was a great thing because on the 4th lap, she was having some problems, so she asked her friend, hey, come run with me, keep me company. And by this time, the runners have really fallen off, so most of the time she's running alone. It's just her and her friend, and it was really early in the morning, and the sunset was rising, and it was really beautiful. So her friend, who is a photographer, started taking pictures of this beautiful sunrise. All of a sudden, she experienced a sharp pain in her foot, enough to make her stop. She thought maybe that she could just power through it, but she could not. And it wasn't only her foot. She said everything in her body was telling her to stop, 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 stop. And she said it wasn't really about the pain in her foot. She just said everything in her body was telling her, you can't finish, you can't finish. She started feeling nauseous, and eventually she pulls out of the race. Her and her friend go back to the Airbnb, and her friend is sending all these beautiful shots to her mom. Her mom then messages her and goes, who's that person running in front of your friend? And of course they're like, there was nobody. It was early in the morning. Most people had dropped out. So they decided to look through their pictures, and here's what they saw. So this is the shot that her mom was talking about. As you can see, she's right behind her friend who's running, and ahead of the trail is something that they did not see while they were running. And as you zoom in, you could see more detail. Now it kind of looks like a person. It doesn't look like a fellow runner. And even more terrifying is the live shot. See how this person just kind of comes up from the brush. When they posted it, a lot of people say it is the lore of the Night Marcher. I don't know too much about the lore of the Night Marcher in Hawaii. If you do, please comment, and also tell me what you think. What did they encounter? And is this responsible for the heavy feeling that she was having about not continuing the run?
I don't know what that is, but it's definitely creepy. Also, would a night marcher not also be out at night and not during daylight?
I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard.
Well, that's weird. So these 3 Democrats made the exact same video? It was just the 3 of them, right? All of these Democrats made the exact same video with the same script. It included January 6th and Elon bad.
Costs of groceries, housing, insurance, all going up.
Prices of groceries, gas, housing,
and yes, even eggs.
Instead, he's pardoned
violent criminals who beat police officers,
who bludgeoned police officers,
savagely beat police officers.
He's allowing Elon Musk to literally take a chainsaw.
Elon Musk in charge of taking a chainsaw.
Elon Musk take a chainsaw.
A literal chainsaw to funding the government spends on you.
By the way, Musk doesn't even know how to hold a chainsaw.
Giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data. Giving Elon Musk access
to Americans' most sensitive data.
You gotta hand it to Elizabeth Warren. She's clearly the most dedicated to her performance.
Why? Families lose, while billionaires win.
Who the hell thought this was a good idea? I understand trying to get everyone on the same message, but you know what this makes you look like, right, guys? Do you remember this?
Of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
I'm sure a lot of you remember this viral video where all these news stations expressed fake news as a threat to our democracy. When everyone gets on the exact same page like this, the implication becomes you aren't thinking for yourself. You are a puppet, and someone is making you dance. For the Democrats, after the last 4 years, that's the last thing you want people to think. Yet, here they are, doing the very thing that could harm them the most.
And that is the truth.
This reminds me of all the news channels that follow the same script. You know, people can't think for themselves, so they have to have someone to think for them. Do I want a cup of tea? Ben, do I want a cup of tea? Yeah.
This has got to be the most unbelievable archaeological find ever made, and to this day there are still no records of who built this or how. It was found near a village along the Q River of eastern China, a quaint little farming town with beautiful rolling hills. One of the mountains in the region was home to a series of very interesting rectangular shaped ponds that were unlike any other in the country. For as long as anyone in the village could remember, these ponds supplied them with water for ages. Generations upon generations would use the ponds as a fresh water supply, and they would never run dry or even recede over time. They almost seemed to be a source of infinite water. They became known as the bottomless ponds, and villagers even attempted on many occasions to measure how deep they are, using the longest bamboo poles they could find, yet they could never ever touch the bottom. Then in the summer of 1992, a local villager was fishing in one of the ponds when he caught a massive 30-pounder, which was way bigger than what anyone else had ever caught in these ponds. Intrigued by this discovery, the villager made it his mission to get to the bottom of this mystery. So he convinced 3 other villagers to help him drain one of the ponds entirely, which was an ambitious project by any means. They get a hold of a basic manual water pump and get to work continuously pumping the water out of one of the ponds day and night in shifts. After 5 days of non-stop pumping, the water level had only dropped a couple feet, but they made their first earth-shattering discovery. Just below the surface of the water, on the far side of the pond, they see a set of stairs going down into the bottom of the pond. This was clearly huge. Excited, they got 4 more water pumps and rallied a few more villagers to help their cause and continued pumping non-stop for 17 more days. And they did it. They drained the entire pond, and what they found shocked not only the village, but the entire world as well. They were looking directly into an ancient man-made subterranean complex that completely defied their entire understanding of history. These are the Long U Caves, crafted with perfectly flat floors, enormous rooms, grand pillars, and even intricate art carved into its walls. The entire excavation revealed 24 caves in a massive underground network, 14 of which were collapsed, but the 10 that stood were just unexplainable, indicating a level of sophisticated precision in making these caves that totally rewrote conventional ancient Chinese history as they knew it. The walls had finely carved patterns, a level of detail typically achieved by only the most advanced artisans, and were even found on the ceilings, which would have been even harder to pull off, which in some areas would stand up to 10 stories tall, with a total area spanning 11,000 square feet across all of the caves, with no evidence of soot or burn marks anywhere on the walls or ceilings, implying they either did all of this in complete darkness or using some lighting method we're not aware of. Not to mention, some of these caves didn't even connect with each other, yet were perfectly chiseled with walls less than 50 centimeters thick separating them. This level of precision is borderline impossible for its time. Once again, an ancient structure so impressive that it almost seems like they had some form of advanced technology that was either lost or suppressed over time. If it even was possible with the technology available at the time, it's estimated a project like this would have taken centuries to finish. Current estimates put it at around 2,000 years old, yet there are no records of these caves anywhere in ancient Chinese history. Just like the Egyptians, the ancient Chinese were meticulous record keepers of everything they did, yet not a single account of this engineering marvel of a complex found anywhere among them. Seems to be a trend among ancient cultures to make epic shit and just never write about them for some reason. There isn't even any evidence of the people who could have built these caves. On top of that, this complex would have required the removal of millions of tons of stone, which is nowhere to be found. Such a monumental quantity of rock would have left a huge impact on the surrounding landscape, yet the region around the cave has nothing. But overall, China is no stranger to caves like these. 100 miles north, we see the Huashan Grottos, another network of 36 caves with a similar sophistication as Long U. Despite being a project that would have also taken centuries to complete, there are also no records of who built them, how they were built, or for what purpose. They're just there. And just as mysteriously, the millions of tons of rock removed from this subterranean network are nowhere to be found. Maybe they were transported and used in other projects, like the mythical Great White Pyramid they so closely guard. Same with the Guyaju Caves, China's largest cliff-dwelling complex composed of 117 caves. Discovered in 1984, sprawling over 25 acres, more than 1 million square feet. These are made out of granite, which we know is very hard and very difficult to carve, so we can't even begin to imagine how they did any of this. All of these caves lack significant datable archaeological evidence and have very few, if any, historical records of their construction. Isn't it kind of weird that a civilization known for its meticulous record keeping has no surviving records of arguably its most impressive feats? We really have no idea how old any of these are. Common estimates putting them around 2,000 years old, but we really have no way of accurately dating rocks. And it doesn't doesn't end with caves. Ancient China is home to some of the most amazing understudied monuments in the world, like the impressive Haijin City Fortress, carved directly into the side of a mountain gorge. An absolute marvel of ancient engineering with an intricate network of tunnels and dwellings inside, all heavily eroded from time. And of course, the centerpiece massive 30-foot entrance carved into the canyon wall, which would have clearly been difficult to make. This fortress once again has very little historic records to show where it came from. The theory proposed by historians was that local farmers of the region with no knowledge of stonework constructed this fortress to protect themselves against bandits. Yeah, and others will probably try to convince you it was naturally formed. I mean, if this isn't clear evidence of some lost civilization, I don't know what is. Well, what if it isn't a lost civilization because they actually found it? In 1986, construction workers near the city of Guanghan accidentally discovered 2 pits filled with thousands of artifacts that belong to a civilization that we have absolutely no record of other than these relics, totaling around 13,000 artifacts of gold and bronze statues, figurines, masks, some even made out of jade, others up to 5 feet wide and 9 feet tall, which became known as the Sanshin people, who featured distinct large eyes and big ears that kinda... Okay, no, I'm not going there. Strangely though, these aren't similar to any other ancient Chinese culture that came after or before them, and many of these artifacts were burned and heavily damaged when they found them, almost like they've been intentionally hidden and buried, or perhaps scorched by a global cataclysm. The Sanshin artifacts have been officially dated to as far back as 5,000 years old. That's as old as the Sumerians and the earliest Old Kingdom Egyptian empires that ever existed. Did this society exist far before our known timeline, build all of these incredible complexes, and for whatever reason get erased from history? The dawn of civilization from an unknown society found in China? Man, this shit really just keeps on getting older.
Has invented an innovative conflict-free bed that can only be used by 2 people. If one person suddenly gets up, the bed automatically makes some adjustments. If your girlfriend has cold feet, the bed will provide immediate relief. And if she experiences a nightmare that you can't resolve, simply pressing a button will help her sleep peacefully. Alternatively, you can use another bed with a similar result that uses large balls.
Go on down to the till you get to the disabled parking. Where I said the disabled parking.
Still didn't hear you.
I said the disabled. Just shut up and listen to me. The speed limit is 45 down there in the coldest suck. Well, I don't ever do a suck that fast. Do what? Why not? Because there's always lovebirds on lawnmowers. Nope. You know what they say, no pain, no gain. Well, that's true if you never don't give up. I don't never give up. What you say to me? We come to Trent. Where's that? Well, it's up on the 3rd floor, of course. Hell, I've been there. Well, you see the wet tank, don't touch it. I can't. And why not? I'm down here trying to wash and vacuum me, Ma. Soup, doop. Well, if you stop. While you're here, you could just ride this. What are you talking about? The ding. Only I don't want nothing to do with the ding. Well, you can just miss it to a good, but to a heel. Did that just come out of your mouth? Come out of my what? Out your mouth. Boss, could you just red, please? I can't. Why not? Your hair long arm.
That's it for today, everyone. I've been really busy over the past few weeks, but I'll be back to making more regular content from Monday onwards. So thanks everyone for watching and for being able to support this channel. But until the next video, please stay safe, and I'll see you then.